Hey, good morning, everybody. It's August 2nd, 2024. Now, how in the heck did we know that Trump would become the next Electric Kingdom Bitcoin president all the way back in 2020? Yes, you can look back on this channel. We were talking about how Trump would flip flop back to Bitcoin. He was starting to. And of course, the Electric Kingdom. We're going to get into all that today because of his recent remarks at the Bitcoin conference, in which he expressed full support for the transition to Bitcoin, which of course will become the world beast currency at some point. They're still working out all the kinks, but cryptocurrency will become the electronic currency of the future. They will segue that at some point, and Trump is fully on board with that. How did we know this back in 2020? Well, we followed the signs and symbols. We followed the entertainment media programming going back decades. We're going to get into that today, as well as discussions about the Intersex Olympics. Many of you have noticed the boxing match in which there was clearly something not right. So we're going to get into that today as well. And at the end of the show, we're going to do a Honey Milk Ranch update. I found a weed hack for some natural weed killer, and I actually have some footage of that. But let's start with this Bitcoin conference in which Trump spoke. I'm going to play some segments from this. But before I do, let's think back in history, back to the year 2020. We were in the middle of the pandemic. And back then, Trump hated Bitcoin, didn't he? He hated cryptocurrency. He said that it was the largest threat to the dollar. Remember those words? And then when he passed this act, this funding act to basically give money to the pharmaceutical companies and all that stuff and give out stimulus checks, remember all that? And remember we looked at the act and we broke it down and we found part of it, the wording in that act, it was bundled in with wording about actually doing studies on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and how it interacted with our economy. And I told you that was a huge red flag because essentially what they were doing was those are the beginnings of the regulation of Bitcoin. And then after that, we saw Biden come into power. And the first thing Biden did is he went after the people doing crypto. If you made any amount of money in crypto, then the very first people that were named that they would go after with the IRS were the people that made money on crypto. So they had to pay back all of that money that they thought they were not getting taxed on because of Biden's IRS army. And because Trump had really pushed for civil asset forfeiture, if you didn't have the money to pay back all of your crypto taxes, then they came for your stuff and confiscated your home or your boat or whatever else you bought with your crypto dollars. Do you remember all this? These are called covert bipartisan agendas. When you see presidents working together across administrations to go after the little people, we're going to get into some of those bipartisan covert agendas today because it's not just Trump. Both sides are working together on these covert agendas. And we're going to go over several of those covert agendas today so that you can see that they just simply hand off the football to each other. Now, no sooner than Trump had essentially, said that he hated Bitcoin and it was a threat to the dollar. While those words were coming out of his mouth, his own wife, Melania, was selling Bitcoin on the side on Twitter, on her Twitter account. Then a year later, we saw Trump launch his own crypto NFT trading cards. Complete flip-flop. He made a killing on those trading cards. All the while, the people were still locked up, rotting in jail from the crapper hole. Not a dime went to them. There were no funds to help them, no legal defense funds. It was all about more money, more money. Many of you continued to get requests in your email begging you for more money for his campaign over the ensuing years while the people rotted in jail. Now, you can say whatever you want. I've heard all the excuses in the book. I've heard that he's not allowed by law to help those people because if he does, it would disqualify him for running for the president. Well, who made that law? And maybe that's why they attached sedition charges, because it limits people's ability to help these people who are rotting in jail for showing up to a building and going inside. So the hypocrisy continues. No help for those people. So what about the electric kingdom? Well, in 2020, Trump signed 5G and beyond. And this technology is a very electric intensive technology. If you tuned into yesterday's show, you heard us talking about copper and how copper was an essential component in 5G technology, which is how we knew the copper prices would double. So we all knew this was coming, didn't we? You don't install all this infrastructure without knowing that the economy will shift to an electric economy. And sure enough, Trump just spoke at a crypto conference, the first former president to do so. He's the first president to do a lot of things, wasn't he? The first president to go to the Wailing Wall. Now he's all behind crypto, as well as the electric kingdom. Those are the remarks we're going to go over today. Now this, again, today's show is not to pick on Trump specifically. It's to expose the covert bipartisan agenda that is being used to completely control and dominate every single human on the planet, separate you from this earth, separate you from God, and allow the beast to rise up. We know the beast is rising up. How do you think that's going to happen? It happens through men. This is how it happens. So why do we keep listening to men? Let's get into this conference here. I've got some timestamps for you guys. Let's see here. Let's go to 1 minute, 25 seconds here. Let's listen to Trump's words about what he's going to do.
Never have happened with us.
He had some kind of sound issue going on here, but let's go back to this timestamp here.
To address a Bitcoin event anywhere in the world. First American president. It's a terrible thing. But I'm thrilled to be here in Nashville to become the first American president ever to address a Bitcoin event anywhere in the world.
So he's the first president to address a Bitcoin event. That says it all right there. Now, there were a lot of celebrities that attended this event. The Paul, Rand Paul, and the other Paul, Kid Rock. There were other sellouts there. This conference was a big deal. And Trump goes on to use the whole let's beat China tactic. This is a favorite tactic that he uses to get people on board with his agenda. Let's beat China. And let me explain. Let me break this down for you, because this is the same reasoning that he used to pass 5G and beyond. Right? It's all about beating China. And this is how you get people emotionally invested in this, because everybody loves competition. This is why I tell you, this whole competition thing is not natural. That's not Christian. It's not scriptural. Why do we keep falling for it? Let's listen.
That dominates the future. We have the best economy, the highest standard of living, the safest and most beautiful cities. And by the way, when I say safest, our cities are going to hell right now. Our cities are going to hell. We're going to fix our cities. We're going to work with Democrats that have destroyed our cities, but we'll work with them and we're going to get our cities back. We're going to bring our country back. And we really were the freest and the most ambitious, most dynamic nation ever to exist on earth. And we're going to get that back again, because we're not there now. We're a nation in decline, you know.
So what do you say?
In decline, you know it, we know it, doesn't sound nice, but it's okay, because we're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back fast. Right now it's It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing what's happened. Even today, when you look at what we just said, that would never have happened if they respected our country. If we don't embrace crypto and Bitcoin technology, China will, other countries will, they'll dominate, and we cannot let China dominate. They are making too much progress as it is. And we want them to be successful. I don't want China to be successful, but we have to be the most successful. That's what's gonna happen.
So everybody wants to beat China. Now you understand why they have to push this lie that we are at war with these other countries and then we're in competition with them, because it's the competition that drives these politicians and gets the human population behind them in each of these countries. The Chinese leaders are saying the same thing to their people. We got to beat the United States. And through this, they garner the emotion and support of the citizens to build our own prisons. This isn't about China versus the US. This is about our government versus us. But we keep falling for the same tactic. Let's beat China. Now, this will be the same tactic that's used, the same reasoning that will be used to bring on the surveillance state. Everything is a contest. And that's how they get you invested in the idea. Now, at some point, Trump spills the beans on artificial intelligence and its electrical needs. You guys, AI is like a beast that needs to be fed massive amounts of electricity. And we were talking about all this in 2020, remember? Remember the AI that was built under the Hoover Dam in Westworld? We were talking about that. I mean, I'm getting chills just listening to this speech because it's everything we were talking about. Let's continue and listen to this here.
AI, but you also have, some of you are involved with AI, but you also have the same thing. You need a thing called electricity. You need a lot of electricity. AI needs to be really dominant. And China can do it much easier. We have environmental impact statements to do, but we're going to do things that nobody thought were possible. You need tremendous amounts of electricity. You need double the electricity of the entire electricity that we have right now in the United States to dominate.
So now all the videos we did on the Electric Kingdom that are still sitting at 5,000-6,000 views, because nobody cared. No one believed it. Now you know that what we were saying was true. When Trump gets reelected, it's all about the Electric Kingdom. As you just heard in his own words, my guess is that he will bring to bear some kind of secret technology that he got from his Uncle John, who probably got it from Tesla, and they've been holding this in their back pocket for when the time is right for his presidency. Everyone will be on board because Trump will have solved the problems of energy, the Electric Kingdom. And you just heard him say in his own words that he has something that nobody would believe. Now, we already anticipated that he had some secret technology. We talked about this in previous videos, but now you just heard it in his own words. Let's play this back a little bit.
And AI, but you also have the same thing. You need a thing called electricity. You need a lot of electricity. AI needs to be really dominant, and China can do it much easier. We have environmental impact statements to do, but we're going to do things that nobody thought were possible. You need tremendous amounts of electricity. You need double the electricity of the entire electricity that we have right now in the United States to dominate, and we'll get that done. Who would think we can get that done? But we're going to get it done. We'll be having power plants built at the sites. We'll be releasing people from certain ridiculous requirements, and we'll be using fossil fuel to make electricity because we're going to have to. We'll be using nuclear. We'll be doing it in an environmentally friendly way, but we will be creating so much electricity that you'll be saying, please, please, President, we don't want any more electricity. We can't stand it. You'll be begging me, no more electricity, sir. We have enough. We have enough. You know, in the Midwest, they just opened, it was very interesting, they just opened up 2 chargers, you know, a charger for the electric cars. And you know, I love Elon. He's great. He endorsed me and great endorsement and everything else. But not every.
So now he's talking about the electric cars. There's no way he's going to get rid of electric cars because he loves Elon Musk. And Elon Musk makes electric cars. He says he's going to get rid of electric car mandates. But what does that really mean? Let's keep listening here.
Everybody has to have an electric car. I told him that. So we're going to get and everything else, but not everybody has to have an electric car. I told them that. So we're going to get rid of that mandate if you don't mind. Some people want gasoline propelled cars. Some people want a hybrid.
So you can tell he's double speaking here. He's saying that he's going to get rid of the mandates. Well, where are the mandates right now? As far as I know, these mandates are state driven mostly. Is he going to overpower the states and have them get rid of their 2030 electric car mandates? He can't really do that, can he? Now, of course, we know that Biden has had an electric car mandate for the federal employees, so he could get rid of that. But really, how many people does that affect? And on what level? These would be electric cars that federal employees are driving when they're at work. So does that really matter? This is about your personal freedom and electric cars. So unless he can override state governments, I don't think that what he's saying really has any teeth to it. It sounds good, but the proof will be in one single thing. Will he remove all government subsidies for the manufacture of electric cars? That will be the real proof. Yes, if you didn't know by now, Elon Musk gets a lot of money from our government in your tax dollars to make electric cars. I don't know what the number is now. It's in the billions. We give tax breaks. We give all these things. Will Trump get rid of all of not the mandates, but the incentives to build electric cars? Now, he did not veto these subsidies during his first presidency, and I don't believe he will during his second presidency, because this would go directly against his friend, Elon Musk. So what does all this mean? If he doesn't get rid of the subsidies, the market will still be tilted. The market will continue to artificially favor electric vehicles because they will still have an unfair market advantage over gas cars. And with all this electricity running around, it'll be cheaper to have an electric car, won't it? So he's covertly doing one thing while giving people the impression that he's doing another. So what he's saying here is a big nothing sandwich unless you're a federal employee. That's the only mandate that he has control over. Now, where's all this headed? Again, I believe Trump will have some kind of huge reveal during his second presidency, endless electricity technology that will likely originate from his Uncle John, who got it from Tesla. It would be so easy for them to build these plants, these nuclear power plants, and say that the energy is coming from the power plants, but really the grid is being fed by this endless technology. They won't give it to you and I. They won't give the free energy to you or I. What they'll do is they'll secretly feed it into the grid, and they'll put up these like fake power plants that really aren't doing anything. And then the wiring will like go under the ground to these free energy sites, and these people will make a killing. They'll make even more money. Now, then Trump goes on and he says he's crypto king of the world. Listen to this.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be
crypto capital of the planet. Wow.
mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon. I want America to be the nation that leads the way, and that's what's going to happen. No, you're going to be very happy with me. You're going to be so happy. You're going to say he's the greatest guy. That's why I'm proud to be the first major party nominee in American history to accept donations in Bitcoin and crypto.
Now, what do you think this is doing to the stock price of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin? Of course, it's going through the roof. Of course, all the crypto people are going to vote for Trump. So he's getting the crypto vote. You guys have to read between the lines, okay? So what's all the fuss? Casey, why are you so upset about this? What makes crypto so bad? Crypto is the framework for the digital dollar and complete and total financial control by world governments. It's the segue into the social credit score, because once cash is gone, there will be no more private commerce. It will all be monitored, taxed, and controlled. There will be no more lemonade stands. This is the segue to the mark of the beast. Once it's all controlled, you will not be able to buy or sell without the mark of the digital currency. I hope you're awake. You see the game that he's playing here, the tactic that he's playing here? If it's got the T mark on it, the Trump signature, then it's good, right? It's the good Trump. It's the Trump vaccine. It's the Trump Freedom City. It's the Trump National Healthcare. It's the Trump crypto. It's the Trump artificial intelligence. Do you see the game he's playing? And the people on the right eat it up like candy. As long as Trump's doing it, then he's doing it right. But the truth is that no version of what I just said is good for freedom or good for America or good for you. Even for the simple fact that if you think logically about all this, you take all the emotion out of it. You know, Trump keeps saying, oh, this is all you got to do is vote one more time and that'll be the end. He's speaking as though he's the last president, which to me is cryptic and eerie because there's a book called The Last President. But we all know that if he were to do all this, that he's saying that the Democrats will eventually win. They'll flip the script, and all of a sudden, the AI, the crypto, the national health care, the freedom cities, the vaccine, all of that will be changed into the Democrat version. So for that simple fact, none of this should be anything we accept. And these are the covert, bipartisan agendas to advance the end times, authored by the devil himself. Let's call it what it is. To me, this is so obvious, but very few people get it. So now you understand this isn't about Trump. This is not a Trump bashing channel, but he's got so many Christians deceived. This is about our entire government marching us down a path, a covert path in plain sight that very few people are focused on. How many people do you talk to that understand the dangers of cryptocurrency replacing cash? How many people do you talk to that understand that or think it's a priority? They're all talking about other things like the border and all these things. Issues that never get solved intentionally. Now let's hop off of Trump and get into some other news and also this weed hack that I have for you guys. Got some footage for you. Now, this is the Ukraine, the human sacrifice meat grinder of war, keeps claiming victims. They're literally running out of men. An entire generation of men gone. Ukraine's desperate need for soldiers spurs exodus of young men They're running out of people. This is a literal meat grinder. Who would ever sign up for this? A lot of people are trying to escape, swimming across a river to get away, as Ukraine has built walls to keep men of fighting age inside instead of keeping people out. Here it says right here, Good Morning America. The barbed wire fence stretches along the bank of the river that marks Ukraine's western border. Before Russia's full-scale invasion, there was no fence here at this stretch of the river, but in the 2.5 years since then, Ukraine has tightened security, not to keep Russians out, but Ukrainian men in. And now you understand what walls are really for. This is the shape of things to come in the United States. They will need to start keeping people in because people will be trying to escape. Now these men continue to fight and die over rich leaders' decisions, literal meat grinder. So what is the answer to all this? Well, the Bible says there is no answer in this reality. The only answer is Jesus Christ and his kingdom. It will crush all these kingdoms. Okay? So why do we keep voting for these men to fix something when we know all of this is going into the toilet? Why do we continue to do this? Why do people continue to get in these hotly contested debates about who's best fit to run the country when the Bible tells us that none of these kingdoms can run itself? You know, people tell me, Casey, we should read the Bible more on your channel. We read the Bible all the time, and I think we have a really, really good understanding of what the Bible really says. That most Christians are not reading their Bibles. Because these are some of the same Christians that are saying, well, he's better than Biden. That's not what the Bible says. It says none of these kingdoms is fit to rule. And until we believe that and what the Bible really says, we'll continue to fall for their tricks. Now, let's take a station break and head over to the Olympics. By now, you've all heard of this bizarre boxing match in which many people believe a man who failed several drug tests was pit against a woman. He annihilated her, broke her nose. And here's the woman here, and here's the it. We're going to have to call it it because the article is being very vague about what it is. There were several tests that it failed. So apparently the sex of this opponent is a big question mark. So why did the Olympics allow it to compete? Well, let's read part of this. It says here, gender row engulfing the Olympics women's boxing competition has intensified after the first opponent of the Algerian fighter who failed 2 sex tests abandoned their bout after 46 seconds. 46 seconds. 23 and 23 is 46. That's a chromosome number, isn't it? And this is all about the chromosomes. Italy's Angela Carini was given a suspected broken nose after Ayman Khalif was allowed to enter the welterweight event. And it had been disqualified by the International Boxing Association last year following gender testing. What is Khalif's actual sex? And here's where you can see it's very ambiguous. They're not telling us. Nobody took a picture. We're not getting an exact anatomical description. Not that it matters. But here's where the plot thickens. And we're going to talk about this subject because you're going to be shocked. I'm going to share with you some information you probably have not heard yet about intersex births. Khalif. What does it mean? Well, they're saying here that Khalif may have been born with female anatomy, but 2 hidden testes. And Caliph's name actually means the river that flows between two mountains. Now, this is deep, you guys. This is spiritually deep. Because think about it. Water represents the womb, and the two mountains represent the two testes. So, in effect, Caliph, which is also a unisex name, means a little bit of both, the river and the two mountains. Do you see now the psychological operation going on here? Now, Caliph also means successor. I'll put links to all this for you guys. You can research this for yourself. So what's this all about? Why would the Olympics not just have a separate medals competition for intersex people? Wouldn't that make more sense? So you match people up with whoever they match up with, right? Well, because then people would see a troubling trend. If you started to have intersex competitions, people would see a troubling trend. What trend is that? Are you ready for this? There are more people than ever being born intersex. And people would begin to ask hard questions like, why is this happening? Why are all these people being born intersex? Now, I looked this up. I did my own research on this. And here it is, you guys. The intersex thing is a thing. There are, let's see here, they call it IV, intersex variations. And they are saying now that as many as 1 in 1,500 children are born intersex. Let's see if we can find this on the page. I had this pulled up, but it seemed to have, let's see here. So this was the statistic that they found here on this, that there were 1 in 1,500 people, or 1 in 2,000, that had intersex characteristics. Let's see here. Let's find this on the page for you guys. Oops. I'll put a link to this so you guys can read through this. Here's a Good Morning America or NBC News article stating the same thing. How many people are intersex? Almost 2% of the population, 5.6 million people born intersex in America. You guys, this is larger than some minority groups. So, why aren't we focused on the people that are born this way? Why is the media focused on drag queens or perfectly healthy people that want to transform to the other sex? Why is the media focused on all of that? Here are my thoughts on it. I believe that the enemy knows that it's somehow creating more intersex children. Exactly how is the question. And I believe that the focus on elective trans people is to normalize intersex as a whole, so that it isn't so shocking when we're up to 10% of the population born intersex, because that's where the trend is headed, you guys. Why do you think the devil has both sexes? It wants to create man in his or its image, not the image of man and woman. Now, for the people that are born this way, God has you. You are not condemned to a life of shame. What happened to you is an attack by the enemy, and God will make you whole. It's actually mentioned in the Bible, but you have to believe and let him guide you. Jesus came for all of us. And the true tolerance that we should be having, see, the devil always flips the script, doesn't he? The true tolerance that we should be having is for people that are born this way, because they didn't have a choice. But do you see how the enemy works? By trying to segue this onto the rest of us, by displacing the tolerance that we're supposed to have onto completely normal people who think that they're in the wrong body. It actually dishonors the people that are born this way. And don't get caught up in the hate game. I know it's really easy to walk around and every single comment you put on a video is, that person's really a this or this person's really a that. That's a trap, you guys. And the devil sets the trap with elective trans people, so that you can hate the other people that were born that way, which of course would be a sin to do that, right? But the devil has already lumped all this in. And so this whole boxing match, this Caliph boxing match, was a psychological operation to get everybody talking about it, to get everyone hating this intersex person, to enrage you against people born this way. What better way to do that than to have this person break this woman's nose, right? So of course you're going to have sympathy for this woman, and you're going to have hate in your heart toward people born this way. The devil wants you focused on calling out every person you see as a flip-flopper. That's exactly what the devil wants, because the hate is growing in your heart, and many of them may be. But I think that these are the kinds of sentiments that they will weaponize against all of us at some point to put the final nail in the coffin of free speech. And all you have to do is ask yourself what Jesus would do if he encountered an intersex person that was born that way. And actually, he did. The eunuch of Matthew 19. For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. Now, what is Jesus saying here? Jesus was speaking of those who chose to remove their genitals, not change them to the other sex, because that wouldn't fit into the context of somebody doing this for the kingdom, right? So this isn't a verse that justifies elective trans surgery. But the ones born this way, as described here, were likely intersex, which the passage suggests would preclude them from marrying either sex, either because of anatomical limitations or exclusion as a suitable mate. So they would live a life of sexlessness, and then they would be able to focus on the kingdom. So, when you leave this show today, pray about this. Pray about where your focus is. If you're one of those people falling right into the devil's trap and making fun of or calling every single person you see the opposite sex and thinking, you know, that reminds me of the flat earth. You guys know I believe in the flat earth, but there are some people that just go crazy with it. And everything that they talk about and see is all about that. And that becomes a point of division instead of trying to figure all this out. And I believe the devil has set a trap to get people so focused on this whole trans thing that we would have hate in our heart for someone who was born this way. So, anyway, I'm back in the chat, you guys. Let's finish off the show today with the Honey Milk Ranch. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. I got this weed hack. Let's take a look at this, you guys. All right, you guys. I just sprayed this driveway in front of the house. I'm going to show that to you. 1 gallon of 45% vinegar, which is about $20 at Walmart, or maybe you can get it at Costco. I don't know. It's a little bit expensive, but this is natural weed killer. 1 gallon of 45% vinegar, 1/4 cup of Dawn dish soap and 2 cups of Epsom salt. You mix that all up in the sprayer. Now here's a little hack. As you can see, all that grass is dying. The hack is you want to mix it very, 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 very good. And you have to do this. Why? Because if you don't, the Epsom salt crystals will get stuck in the sprayer head and it will cause you lots of grief. I would say mix it for a good 5 minutes. And when you do that, you will get this effect on the driveway. This took about 3 days. Now, I did make the mistake of trying to use regular 3 or 5% vinegar. That was pretty much a waste of time. You want to use the 45% vinegar. Now, be careful when you're handling the 45% vinegar because it is borderline toxic. I touched it to my lips just because I love vinegar, and literally it caused my lips to sting. So be careful when you're handling it. You might even want to use gloves. It's called industrial strength vinegar, and as you can see, it's doing a really good job burning this driveway here. It even scared off the hornets because the odor of the vinegar is so strong. All of this used to be green, now it's brown. Now I'll let this burn a little bit longer and get really good and dead, and I'll go ahead and come through here with the torch and light all this up. But this is literally 1 day, and it used to be as green as the lawn, and it's all browned out with the special concoction. So, what is it? It's natural weed killer. You don't have to use Roundup, and it does the same job. So, what is that? $20? Let's say $25, because your Epsom salt's going to cost you a little bit, right? So, for $25, you get natural weed killer. I don't know how much the Roundup costs now, but I can imagine it's probably close to $25 for the Roundup. So, natural weed killer. Now all this back here will die too. It got sprayed as well. It's just going to take it a little bit longer. But as you can see, the proof is in the pudding. Look at that. Here's a really good shot of it. You can see the really green grass back there in the distance compared to the brown grass in the driveway. So, I will keep you guys updated on this nice little hack. Now this has been known for a long time, this recipe, but a lot of people don't see it actually working. You see a lot of videos talking about this recipe, but none really showing the actual grass dying, in your gravel driveway. So this actually shows that. So I'm really happy about that and pleased that I was able to, make this happen. So that's about it, you guys. So there's the update of the Honey Milk Ranch. Now I want to also tell you that you can also make your own vinegar. I don't know how to make vinegar, but I'm sure there's a way to do it. And you could get it up to a 45% vinegar, and you could do your own, and you could save yourself even more money that way. Now, I want to clarify my comments. Absolutely, we do not want, this whole agenda in our schools, teaching our children. I stand on the principle of that. I'm not inferring that we should let go of that. What I'm saying is the devil is drawing us into a trap by leading with the drag queens and all these things. He's trying to get you angry and enraged, which is working. This is the number one thing in our conservative truth community that people are upset about. But then you can go over the line. And then when we have this whole minority group of people born this way, the devil wants us to lump them in with all of the dysfunction that he has set the stage for, which would cause you to sin. It would cause you to hate your neighbor. It would cause you to do all these things. So I just want to be clear about that. I'm not trying to say that we should not hate the sin. We should absolutely hate the sin. But I'm telling you, it's a setup. Okay? So think about that. Think about that. So I'm back in the chat, you guys. Good morning. Now, I know that a couple years ago, I tried an only salt mixture. I put salt and water in the sprayer, and that didn't quite do the trick to kill the weeds. So this was actually a much better recipe, and you use far less salt. So that's the good thing about this recipe. It sprays on really good and kills pretty quickly. That took 2 days for the grass to turn the way it did. So that was pretty fast. So, all right, I'm back in the chat, you guys. The sin is boxing. Absolutely, Daryl. That's the other part of it. Yes. Boxing. All right. It's the gladiator sports. Yes. They want the world to see. They ran it on MSN. Yep, absolutely. Okay. Some weeds are a gold mine. Yeah, you're right. And I have wild weeds all around the rest of the 6 acres. So this little tiny, eighth of an acre of my driveway needs to be clear for multiple various reasons. Just having it cleared because snakes can go in the grass. There's all kinds of reasons to have the driveway clear. So at least it's a natural weed killer, and it's not Roundup, which would destroy everything downstream of it. So, and at a good cost. All right. What else is going on, you guys? Yeah, so what are your guys' opinions on what could be causing these intersex births? They used to be called hermaphrodites, but now they're called intersex births. What is your opinion on what's causing this? Now, I have my opinions, but I can't say that on here because they'll say that's medical misinformation. All right. Thanks, Vet for Peace. Yeah, I enjoy doing the Honey Milk Ranch too. Glad you guys are learning something from it. Xenoestrogen, says Daryl. Genetic manipulation, absolutely. And all the other stuff. I believe it's a certain thing that children get when they're in vitro that the mother does while carrying the child is what I believe is causing it. All right. Okay, you guys, I'm going to pop off here. It's Friday. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. Probably be back on Sunday. I love each and every one of you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Much love.